Today we're going to talk about stretch goals and how good they can make you feel. So stay with me. Well, hi everyone. This is Crystal from A Crystal Clear Life, where we focus on planning, organizing, and living a more simplified life. And today I wanted to swing back around and talk about goals a little bit today, specifically to help you build confidence in what you are doing, okay? It doesn't matter what area of life you are looking at. I think these ideas and concepts that I'm going to talk about today will help you build some confidence. So if that sounds good to you, please go ahead and give this video a like, hit that subscribe button if you have not already, turn your notification bells all the way on, and with that out of the way, let's get right into this video. Well, as you can see here on my screen in my favorite life management tool, OneNote, I have created a page for you called Building Confidence. Now, with my 35 plus years of being an educator, I spent my life living in the middle of this circle with all of my students. So let me explain to you what that means. If you look at yourself or anybody for that matter, you have three layers to you, okay? You have something that is highlighted here in purple that is called your comfort zone, okay? Those are things that you do well. You may do them well naturally. They are easy for you to do. And if you live in that little zone, you have very little growth, okay? The next zone out here is the stretch zone that we're going to talk about. And that stretch zone focuses on learning new things. And that's where you build your confidence in yourself, in your skills, in all of the things that you're able to do. Okay. Then on the very outside here, this is our panic zone, okay? We don't want to be in the panic zone. You are stressed out if you are living in the panic zone. There is too much unknown information and it's just coming at you too fast and you just cannot deal with it, okay? So when I was a teacher in the classroom, when students would come into me, I needed to determine what their comfort zone was, what was easy for them to do, what was their strengths, okay? And then I could build off of that, all right, to get them into this stretch zone where they're going to be learning new things. You know, as children would come from 3rd to 4th grade, there was a lot of new learning that took place. And then again, from 4th to 5th grade, there was a lot of new learning that took place and a lot of maturity that had to happen. So what I tried to do is to keep the kids in this stretch zone, not have them panic too much, not have them just sit back and ride through the year, but actually grow and learn, okay? All right, because my ultimate goal with all of my students is to build confidence in what you are doing. And I want to say, I have gotten so many comments from you all here in my community about the confidence that you have gained from watching my videos and trying out the things that we talk about here in OneNote. Lots of you have been able to create a notebook background like this for yourself in some form or fashion that is suitable for what you want. You've been able to put together planners for yourself. You've been able to put together project plans for yourself. And I am just thrilled because my goal as a teacher is not to do something for you. It's to help you learn and to build confidence so that you can do it yourself. All right, so how do we do that? Let's get started. All right, hidden over here under this beautiful sticker from Pretty Planner Place, which I'll leave the link in the description box if you are interested. But hidden over here, this is how you get started, okay? The first thing that you need to do is identify your strengths. Now, there are lots and lots of, surveys and things that you can take out there in the world to help you identify what your strengths are. But I bet that you could probably make a list of your strengths. Those things that resonate with you, they ring true. You know, if somebody says, you know, Crystal, what would you say about Crystal? Well, she's a reader, she's a teacher, she's an organizer, she's a crazy cat lady, she is a gardener. All of those things would ring true for me, okay? All right, I could probably list my strengths. I also could list for you a lot of my weaknesses or things that I'm not that great at, okay? So identifying my strengths, the things that I'm good at, is one thing. Then I also want to identify those things that I'm not quite as confident about, okay? All right. Number 2 is to have a growth mindset. And what that means, that's, you know, one of these new productivity terms, to have a growth mindset. What that really means is that you want to grow and to learn. You have that motivation and you have that inspiration to want to get better at whatever skill you are looking at, okay? All right, that's all the growth mindset is. And then third, we've talked about this a lot on this channel, set your goals. You need a what and a when. What am I going to do and when am I going to get it done? How does that timeline break down for me? Okay. Then write those goals down, look at them every day, and remember, one of the most important things is baby steps. If you try to tackle a huge project all at once, you will never get it done. Okay. Baby steps. I'm a quilter. Let me use a quilt as an example. I might first have the motivation and inspiration to make someone a quilt. Maybe someone is getting married. Maybe someone is having a new baby. That's my motivation, okay? Then I go and I start looking for inspiration. I might look through my patterns. I might look on Pinterest. I might look on quilting websites or go to quilt stores and look at the quilts that are there for inspiration for a quilt. All of these things are baby steps, okay? Once I choose a pattern or have in mind a pattern that I'd like, the next baby step then is to organize my fabric. Go back and look, do I already have some of this stuff that I could use? Do I need to buy new stuff? Another baby step, okay? Then comes the whole process of reading over the pattern, figuring out what I need to cut, getting all of that worked out, another baby step. Then cutting out the fabric and labeling it so I don't mix those pieces up, another baby step. And then finally I can start putting these together and sewing, and so on and so on. So you see here, I can't just go, boom, I'm going to make a quilt today. There's a lot of steps involved, okay? And by doing those baby steps, working a little bit every day over time, will get me to the finish line, okay? All right, so that's where you start. Look at your strengths. Figure out what your weaknesses are, where you want to improve. Have that mindset, that growth mindset. You are motivated and inspired to do better. And then write down those goals, look at them every day, and start those baby steps. All right? Under this next box, we move from this area, this comfort area, what we are already good at, what our strengths are. We move then into this light blue area that I have here, and these are our stretch goals, okay? And there's a couple of things that I want to mention about the stretch goals. First of all, you get to set your own goals, okay? So I would encourage you not to set a huge stretch goal, because if you set a huge stretch goal, instead of being right here, right outside of your comfort zone, you're going to be way out here getting close to your panic zone. And remember, we don't want to be in the panic zone, okay? That's too much new information, and what we will feel is not confidence, but frustration, okay? All right, so in our stretch zone here in the middle, we want to embrace the challenge, but we must be motivated and inspired, okay? So again, back to my quilting. I had a challenge, a motivation for my nephew's quilt. He wanted blues and purples, which was fine. I could do that. And I found the most beautiful pattern for a carpenter star. Now, I had never really done half square triangles, which means, you know, taking a square and cutting it in half and putting those two pieces together. The challenge to that is those half square cuts, then become they're cut on the bias, so they can become very stretched very easily, okay? So working with half square triangles can be a challenge. I had never done that before. So instead of picking a really difficult, intricate star with lots of tiny little half square triangles, I decided to make his star gigantic. Okay, so I was dealing with big half square triangles to learn them for the first time. Okay, and I'll put a picture right here of the finished quilt so you can see those big half square triangles. And when you look at it, is it perfect? No, of course it's not perfect, but it's finished. I learned something new. I was able to stretch myself a little bit more in my quilting skills, and I think it turned out fantastic. Okay. So my inspiration was the graduation quilt and wanting to do that star pattern, which I'd never done before, okay? Keep going when you fail. Failure is a valuable lesson, okay? Well, did I have to use my seam ripper when I was making that quilt? Of course I did. There were one or two times that those points just were way too off for me, and I didn't like that, so I had to rip that out and try again. And what I did is I went online and I watched some tutorials about, making sure that that ease of the fabric can go in. And I learned that you put the big fabric on the bottom and the presser foot down there will just kind of help you ease that fabric in, okay? I kept going even when I failed. Failing is a valuable lesson, okay? Nothing to be ashamed of, nothing at all. Failure is where you learn, okay? All right, so in that case, ask for help. Maybe you have a quilting friend, that I could have asked. I read about it. I studied others. I watched tutorials to figure out what other people were doing so that I could glean that information that I needed so that I could get better at that skill. Okay? All right. And we've talked about this before, but here it is again. Effort over time equals mastery. Baby steps, doing the same thing over and over and over time, equals mastery, okay? So once I learned how to do those big half square triangles and make that big star, the next quilt that I made had smaller stars on it, and there were 21 of them. So I got to practice that skill over and over again. And let me tell you, that quilt is absolutely beautiful. Again, I'll try and put a picture here for you. Again, it was stretching what I already know, stretching my comfort zone and learning a new skill, okay? All right. Then number 4, and this is probably one of the most difficult things for people to do, learn from constructive criticism. Now I have the word constructive in there because I never, especially as an educator, I never wanted to tell a student, this is wrong, do it again. Well, how does that help somebody? That doesn't help anybody at all. Or, this is stupid, why would you write that down? Again, that is not helpful at all. What you could say to someone is, I see you were having difficulty with this. Let's talk about where your ideas came from and let me give you some more information and let's try to do this again in a different way. Okay? So you see there, constructive criticism, being willing to help someone is what I'm talking about here. So if I were to show one of my quilts to someone in my guild and they said, oh, this looks really good, but can I make a suggestion for when you add these borders? Absolutely, okay? Learning from others and accepting that criticism. Because really, that's what life is about, is always learning new things, all right? And then find inspiration from others. I have more joy going on the quilting Facebook pages and looking at all of the beautiful quilts that people have made and taking a screenshot of those just for inspiration. How do those colors go together? Look at that pattern. Isn't that cool? I love the way they did that sashing or that, those corner blocks. All of that stuff is inspiration for me. And on this channel, I created a quilting notebook, which I'll leave linked up above, if you would like to see as a place for me to store all of that inspiration, all those patterns, all the projects that I'm working on, just to keep it all together, okay? Now, Let me give you an example of what it would look like if I went out here into this panic zone, okay? Let's say somebody came to me and said, Crystal, let's do a Baltimore album quilt together. Okay, well, a Baltimore album quilt, I'll leave a picture here, is very detailed, very intricate, lots and lots and lots of steps. Or maybe they said to me, Crystal, let's do a quilt that is all completely applique, okay? I don't do applique. Applique scares me. I actually did a small table runner last year during the month of April, just so I could try a little bit of applique. And I did 2 little umbrellas and 4 little tulips on the end of a table runner. And, you know, I will say it turned out cute. It's not perfect, but I learned a little bit about it, okay? So if someone were to say to me, let's do an applique quilt, that would really put me out here in this panic zone. It would be an area that I'm not familiar with, and it would take either a lot of hand holding by that person or a lot of research and a lot of time and probably a lot of frustration on my part, okay? So rather than tackle that whole big applique quilt all at once, I would probably go back and do another table runner that had more applique on it and learn in a smaller piece, a little bit at a time, until I felt like it was something that maybe then became a stretch goal for me, as opposed to being too much unknown information, okay? All right. Well, if you follow these steps and you move from your comfort zone into your stretch zone, I think that you will build confidence in the skills that you have. I know, again, lots of you here in this community have done this with OneNote, and I am so excited to see what you guys have been producing. Actually, I would like to ask you to go over to the Facebook Crystal Clear Life 21 Facebook page and share pictures just so that we can motivate and inspire each other to see what we've built in OneNote. I think that would be absolutely fantastic. The link to my Facebook page is in the description box below, and you can just say in the comments that, you know, here's me building confidence and this is what I've created so far. That would be fantastic. Okay? All right. Well, thanks for joining me today. I really hope that you will take into consideration this whole idea of building confidence through working in some stretch goals for yourself, especially as the second half of the year is coming on. All right? All right. Well, here's hoping that you can live a more simplified and organized life through better planning. I use OneNote. Until next time, okay, bye. Oh. Keep stretching, people. Keep stretching. Oh, it feels so good.